Well, hello, and welcome to Women of Color, Money and Legacy, where I talk money matters. I share proven nuggets and strategies to help empower us to become financially literate in terms of managing our money wisely, financial freedom, and creating a lasting legacy. It's a journey of learning and growing together. Now, if you enjoy this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Today, I want to talk to you about setting your financial house in order and what is required in order to lay a stable foundation. And I want you to stay with me until the end because I'm going to be sharing my story. Now, 22 years ago, I wrote my first book entitled On the Road to Freedom: Journey to Becoming Debt-Free. Now, in this book, I share my years of struggling with debt and how I was ultimately able to escape the debt trap that many of you may be experiencing right now. Since writing this book, I've spoken to thousands of people and written dozens of articles on financial stewardship. And what I've found is that a lot of people try to justify their financial situation rather than just acknowledging that it's a problem. Because when you start talking about making sacrifices and changes, that's where most people will shut down and just stop listening. I had someone to say to me just recently that a credit score in the low 500s is not bad. Compared to what? You see, these are the type of lies that we tell ourselves when we don't want to change our behavior. If you have a credit score between 300 and 580, let me tell you, you have poor credit. Just face it. Don't kid yourself and just accept low standards as a way of life. Now, I've been there, so I'm not judging. But I had to draw a line in the sand. And you have to acknowledge where you are, what got you there, and how you're going to move forward. Now, in order to lay a proper foundation to begin to even building wealth and leaving a legacy, you have to first recognize and acknowledge that you're in financial Lodabar. And for my Bible scholars, you knew exactly what I mean. Lodabar just simply means that you're in a dry place, and nothing grows in a dry place. Now, you might say, look here, Rebecca, I am not in financial Lodabar. I make $100,000 a year, and that is more than 99% of the American workforce. And you are absolutely right. But financial freedom is not measured by how much money you make. How much are you keeping? How much are you investing? How much are you earning from those investments? Now, I'm going to share 10 telltale signs of fiscal instability to help put things in perspective. Here's how you know your financial foundation is unstable. First of all, number one, you're living from paycheck to paycheck. Now, some of us have become so accustomed to just barely making ends meet that we've accepted it as a way of life. Now, if this is your state of affairs, please do not become complacent having more month than money. Number two, you're not able to pay off your credit card balances every month. And this is a big deal because it's the primary reason that most people are in bondage to debt today. We carry balances for every month and the interest rate is accruing month after month after month. And we Americans, we are addicted to credit cards. More than 80% of the American population, adults that is, have at least one credit card. The average person actually has 4. Now, I do have credit cards and I'll use them occasionally, but only for convenience, not to support my lifestyle. I don't carry over balances. When the bill comes, I pay the balance in full. And number 3, you don't have at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses set aside. It's very important that we plan for emergencies. You must have a cash reserve to fall back on in the event of an unforeseen crisis. And single people should be particularly mindful because there is no spouse to help cover your exposure should something happen. Number 4, you have poor spending habits. Are you controlling your money or is your money controlling you? Now, if you're shopping every time you have some extra money, it will keep you broke. And I just want to say this to my younger sisters, my millennials, don't spend your money trying to impress people or be accepted. Some of us older sisters can look back and say, if only I knew then what I know now, I would be further along. Number 5, you're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. And this is a true telltale sign of someone headed toward financial collapse. You can only perform a juggling act for so long. I've been there, and it is mentally draining when you're trying to keep all of your creditors at bay. Rather than paying Visa this month, you pay MasterCard. Next month, you only pay half your phone bill and apply the rest to your American Express card. It's a vicious cycle that I wouldn't wish upon anybody. Number 6, the creditors are threatening you. And this is a debtor's worst nightmare. It's like being a fugitive on the run. The harassing phone calls and threats can be very intimidating. And heaven forbid if they garnish your wages. Unfortunately, it is usually at this stage that most of us will surrender and file for either bankruptcy protection or enroll in a credit repair organization. Number 7, your debt increases as your income increases. Now, if you can't reach that threshold where enough is enough, you have an insatiable appetite that is out of control. And I'm sure you've heard the stories of people who earn millions of dollars only to lose it because they couldn't manage their money well. They are never satisfied. The more they earn, the more they spend. They simply can't control their spending. Number 8, you're working several jobs to make ends meet. Now, having a part-time job is one thing, but burning the candle from both ends just to make ends meet is not healthy physically or psychologically. You are no good to anybody if you are consistently pushing your body and mind to the limit. We need a sufficient amount of sleep every night in order to function properly. So you have to make sure your lifestyle stays balanced. You're behind on your mortgage and or your car payment. Now, the thought of foreclosure or repossession should make anybody think twice about rolling the dice when it comes to losing your residence or your transportation. You cannot bankrupt a car or mortgage payment away because you don't hold the title to it. So if you're getting your hair and nails done is more important than paying your mortgage or your car note, it's time for you to have a come to Jesus moment. And that's all I have to say about that. Number 10, you're not a giver. I truly believe that you reap what you sow. Many of us as believers tithe as a way of setting our priorities. And we should all practice generosity just as a way of life. Be a blessing to other people who are in need or give to some special cause that is near and dear to your heart. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but it will give you something to think about. This is a non-judgmental zone where we get to be open and transparent about our experiences if it will help somebody. I have not reached my financial utopia. We're learning and growing together. Now, some of us are farther along than others, but we should all be striving to live well in the here and now and create a financial legacy for generations to come. It all starts by acknowledging our present condition and making a decision to begin setting our financial house in order. And it won't happen overnight. Building is a process. It takes time. I built a house from the ground up. It took months. I thought they would never finish. At times I just got downright frustrated because it seems as though they were just dragging their feet. I stopped by the construction site every day to see what progress they had made. Now, the same holds true when it comes to financial stewardship. It's a process. Start by setting up that emergency fund and then getting out of debt. Look for ways in which you can economize in order to add to your fund. Rather than spending $5 a day on latte at Starbucks, sock that money away in your emergency fund. Rather than eating out every day, prepare some healthy meals at home, freeze them, take them for lunch, eat them for dinner. You would be amazed at how much money you can save once you set your mind to it. Now, next week, I'm going to go in depth about the money mindset because this is where it starts. We have to condition our minds for financial success. And I'll share some golden nuggets that will help us think differently about money as a master of our money and not a slave to it. And before I wrap up, I just want to share my story, how I began setting my financial house in order. And this was probably about 33 years ago. I was in the grocery store and I had no money. All I had was a little change in the bank, less than $1. I don't remember the exact amount now. And back then you could write checks. And with that change, I wrote a check and bought some pork and beans. I was so embarrassed. And I'll never forget that day because it was the day that I had my epiphany. I made up my mind that I'm tired of living from paycheck to paycheck. I got a part-time job and enrolled in graduate school, majoring in accounting and taxation. And fortunately, I worked for a company that paid for my degree. And let me tell you how determined and fed up I was. I get off from work for my full-time job at 5 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'd head over to Lenox Square Mall where I worked at Mark Shell, which is a men and women's specialty store, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., I was in night classes at Mercer University working on my graduate degree. For 3 years, my head never hit that pillow before midnight, and I'd be up again at 5 a.m. I can tell you that it was worth the sacrifice. I got out of debt. That MBA helped advance my career to where I was earning 6 figures before quitting to become a full-time entrepreneur. I said that to say this: you may have to make some sacrifices for a season, but the rewards will be greater than the sacrifice. That's going to wrap up all that I have to share for today. And I want to thank you for staying with me to the end. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell to receive an alert each time I upload a new video. Now, until the next time, take care, my loves, and bye-bye for now.